we're back. This is iHearIC Radio. I believe this is the 137th episode.
All right.
That's the sound of Dr. Pepper. Say all right again.
All right.
There we go. Now we got it
Now
on
we got
mic.
it, yeah.
This is a very important episode of iHearIC Radio.
Heck yeah.
Let me tell you, say heck yeah again.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, you got to hold it to your mouth so they can hear you say
All the words. Oh,
heck yeah, and what was the other thing you said?
probably for sigil. I don't know. Something stupid.
It was important. Okay, let me tell you the story. October 22nd of 2017.
Wow.
I think.
Yeah,
that's right.
That sounds right. Yeah.
That was the first day I ever did a radio show at KRUI because the KRUI production manager, Asa Crow, asked me if I would want to do a radio version of the monthly live show that I was helping organize at the time, which was called iHearIC, which predates me, but we don't need to do the whole backstory. And so a weekly radio show, or weekly live radio show started October 22nd of 2017. And 1 year after that, October 22nd, well, it probably wasn't the 22nd because I was doing it on Sundays.
We can call it. We can arbitrarily pick it that day.
Yeah. So 1 year after that, my friend joined me in the radio station. My friend's name is Duroje Gwamna.
Hey.
There he is. And now he's sitting across from me in my living room. We're not at a radio station now. But that would make this the seventh anniversary.
I was thinking about this
show.
on the way down here. I should have picked something with 7 flavors and herbs.
Oh,
but
yeah. Yeah, I was opening a can of Dr. Pepper. You heard me open that because I held the mic up to it.
So 16 years later, that Dr. Pepper is gonna be even more important.
I got to keep this can in like a glass case.
You probably should.
And it's also, let's see. There's a lot of numbers on here, actually.
There are,
it's 12 fluid ounces, so we can use it for the 12th
we can
anniversary.
use it for the 12th, exactly.
It's 150 calories, so the 150th anniversary, we'll be around for that.
Absolutely. Our brains will be in those jars, so we got this going.
Yeah, we'll be in a glass case, too.
Yo, the way things are going.
And Dr. Pepper, well, the way things are going, we'll be dead in a couple years.
Oh, absolutely. If not sooner.
And no one will remember us.
God, no.
Our skeletons will be jelly, glowing green jelly.
New band piece, man.
Yeah, this says that Dr. Pepper was established in 1885.
Really? So
do you buy that?
I don't really. I mean, would they be using Coke as well? Like actual like
cocaine?
Yeah, unless like Coke was the ones that like were the progenitors of adding, street drugs to their stuff.
May have been an exclusive to the Coca-Cola recipe.
I don't know if they were using morphine or whatever they used at the time,
Yeah, what's Dr. Pepper like a euphemism for?
That's a good
It's probably an upper, right?
It probably is definitely an upper, yeah.
Yeah, so probably not heroin.
But
cocaine is taken by Coca-Cola, so
some things to ponder, right?
Yeah. We'll think about all the drugs we know. What do you think they were doing in 1885? But yeah, this is the 7th anniversary episode of the radio show iHearIC Radio, which
insane
is about local music. And since iHearIC Radio became a monthly feature on the Rock Hard Caucus podcast feed, it has broadened its scope a little bit. It's, sometimes I talk to people in Des Moines, Dubuque.
Really? Awesome.
I don't think I've actually talked to someone from Dubuque, but I just had someone in mind. But, it's more statewide. It's not quite so Iowa City focused. But anyway.
Right
Duroje, you don't live in Iowa City anymore either.
No, sir. I moved to a deluxe. No, I didn't really move to a deluxe anything. I'll be honest with you. So a year ago, talking to you, I was living in Oxford, and I think we were joking about the sheer dearth of black people that live there.
Is it dearth?
Dearth. Thank you. Dearth.
Yeah.
Dearth. Yeah.
Darth is like a Sith Lord.
Oh, yeah, it's a Sith Lord. I mean, shit, might as well, But there was like
a lot of dark side going on over there. Or maybe not enough.
Not in Oxford, no. God, no. No, nobody fighting the Jedis, I was one of, me and Iotunde were like one, or I guess two, because the one drop rule for Tunde, so 2 of 27 black people according to Wikipedia, and I don't really buy that at all.
Sure, and that's probably based on 2020 census numbers.
Yeah, I guess so. But even then, I probably waved to like 2 black people in my life living in Oxford, right? And like, they're like, oh my God, no, where do you live? I'm like, yeah, I live in, and like, solidarity, right? So we moved out.
So all black people trust each other with each other's
inherently,
addresses. Yeah.
Very much so, especially, like you live in like a very small Skyrim looking ass town, you know what I mean? Like, nothing against Oxford. I mean, they have a really amazing, a shout out to, Deja Brew, coffee. Amazing place for breakfast and stuff like that. I used to hit that place up all the time. And of course, the gas station, the depot, which we got it really felt like, you're at like, you're at some Western place or whatever, back in the day, there's a depot,
the general store
type shit, local gossip in small town,
Yeah.
But no, we live in Cedar Rapids now. Northwest side, off of Edgewood, and we kind of got Cedar Rapidianized, you know what I mean? Like the whole,
sure. What does that mean for you?
Just being caught up abreast on like all of like the madness that's happening. Oh, you hear what's happening down C Street? There's sirens going here, or like really? People talking about, there's gunshots.
So there's more of that going on in Cedar Rapids than Oxford.
Yeah, right. Who did you thunk it, right? But it's just like more like city-ish, like. I'm definitely not going to be the one that's like, oh man, we got some bad hombres from Chicago coming, yada yada.
Chicago's importing all their problems to us.
They're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs, right? I haven't gotten to that part of the whole thing yet. I'm giving some time.
We should talk about that. Yeah.
We really should.
The demonization of
I'm telling
Haitians,
you, man.
huh?
If the Nigerians are hating Asians, man, you can tell that there's something going on. Like we go from, we were getting all the shit from us like supposedly scamming folks, and then like,
sure.
So that's a whole thing that we've had to fight off, like we, it's a whole thing. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I do like to chew on my cat a couple times, he's fun to chew on, but I haven't really thought about like, what it would taste like in a roux, to barbecue him or anything like that. I mean, I joke about it, but it's not helping my case or the Haitians case. Yeah.
Yeah. Keep in mind, everyone, Duroje's Nigerian.
Yes.
This is not playing into any of the JD Vance stereotype stuff. It's a completely different kind of person.
I know how to order donuts from the grocery store. One of my favorite food groups. No, in all seriousness though, it's nice that there is diversity where we live. I mean, not where we live per se, but just I can drive down, I can see black people, I can see people that are not homogenized per se. Granted,
Sure.
It's not like Iowa City.
Still Iowa.
It's still Iowa, in the grand scheme of things, but it's like, it's just good that, for Tunde's sake, that he be around people that look like him is kind of the impetus, right? For us getting out of Oxford and not feeling so isolated from everybody. You know what I mean? Like, even though you're in like, in Coralville, I mean, I still feel closer to you guys or to people or whatever versus living in Oxford. Cause no one wants to come to Oxford. Nobody.
Yeah. It's a bit of a,
it's a whole
bit of a journey, right?
Right. It's like,
it's not that far, but it's like,
it's a journey.
Yeah.
It's like you had to drive. I was like, God damn it. I had to drive down Highway 6. I had to drive through a dirt road. Like, who are these people? You know what I mean? Like, just like,
they haven't even paved all the roads all the way to your house.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going back in time, like where are we going? Like, I always thought that, like, especially when we moved, like around this time when it was like kind of colder and the snow was coming, it felt like we were going to Narnia. Like, what the hell are we doing? But like the housing market, was not really ideal for us. So, we're like, you want to move to Oxford? This house is only 145. I'm like, God damn it. Do I want to? No, but no, it was, the time was nigh, right, for us to move to Cedar Rapids, and we're pretty happy with it for the most part.
Yeah.
And
And that's where we met, was Cedar Rapids.
Rapids.
It's a nice place.
Slinging the ink and pushing the pen. A whole co-college euphemism.
Yeah.
We need to get you back and playing in the band, Justin. Play some stuff of yours.
You've been playing in the co-band again?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you making that drive all the way from Oxford too?
I was making that drive all the way to Oxford. Yeah.
Every week?
As much as I could stand.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. Like, the only reason I would go, like, because honestly, it's not like I could, like, a lot of times I'm looking at the music and I'm like sight reading anyway. I shouldn't say that out loud, but I mean, not every week.
I mean, you're volunteering your time.
Exactly.
It's not like
I'm not taking
what
credits.
can they expect from you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's nice to feel like there's no strings attached to me being here, right? So it's I never thought that would be a good outlet for me, especially after graduating. You're like, to hell with the school or whatever. I'm going to do my whole life, you know what I mean? Work, try and like establish my identity away from this place, you know, and then maybe see myself there, you know, a little bit after the fact. But here I am just coming back, you know, and having the opportunity, you know, to keep in touch with Carson, Shanley, you know, all those folks, you know, and they've helped me, you know, a lot, you know, especially my journey. Yeah. Carson, especially, you know, because I love concert band music and that kind of stuff. Well,
that's a great intro to this. You sent me a few recordings of your recent compositions. I've got a recording of Rise.
Yes, sir.
And this is a recording of the co-college band playing Rise.
Yes, sir.
Right? And you were playing
I was playing
in this? Okay,
yes,
great.
Sir.
And this is recorded like from the audience in Sinclair Auditorium. Yes. So, you know, not like super high.
No, not high fidelity or nothing like that.
But it sounds fine. Yeah, nothing wrong with it. But just, you know, this is a live performance, not super hi-fi settings. So
exactly.
Don't expect crystal clear
God, no.
anything. But yeah, this is Duroje's composition Rise, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about it after we hear it. Rise. Oh, the applause cut off.
No, that's good. You don't need to hear that.
Rise.
Thanks to Sarah for
concert band.
Yeah.
Composed by Duroje Gwamna.
Yeah, thanks to Sarah my wife for recording that. So that was
yes, ma'am.
Really happy for that. Yeah.
Is that a piece that has been published? Because I know that you've been getting into that.
Not yet. I did submit that for publication a couple years ago. But they said they submitted another one, I guess, that we'll hear instead.
Sure.
But I'm hoping, what I'm realizing is that in the band world, that, like the Gerard Halls, Alex Shapiro's, and like Eric Whitaker or whatever, I'm sure they have multiple publishers that they work with.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to, if I can't find anybody else, to try and self-publish, some of the stuff I'm not unable to get published yet.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really kind of a kick in the ass that I needed. You know what I mean? Just to get stuff heard, no matter if it's like a few people, dozens, hundred, a couple hundred. I mean, it'd be nice, whatever, get a couple hundred, but
couple million,
yeah. millions playing my pieces. No, I should not invoke that man in this house.
I think we talked about this last year, that, you are a black man composing concert band music,
which,
and I imagine this is a field that's still got a lot of white guys.
Oh, dude, it's like,
right?
honestly, it's like, feels like it's virgin territory. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's like digging for gold in like, southern, like South Central Africa. You know what I mean? Where it's like, oh my God, look at all these diamonds or whatever. We can like, those blood diamonds, there's rife with opportunity.
Yeah.
But it's like, and I think when I wrote Rise, so interesting enough, so remember the first time, not the first time, but remember when we went to Midwest together?
Yeah, in Chicago.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's not a place that's necessarily meant for composers to go to. It's mostly for like, for educators,
Mm-hmm.
and really, yeah, mostly educators or band or like in the string world or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm like, damn, like it was really cool, like just seeing like some of the groups that are out there just like playing like new works, and like that. So it just got me thinking, man, it'll be cool to like, it's nice just to see, I love concert band, like playing it and stuff like that. But even more the idea of like writing for a group like that and seeing it, performed in such a broader scale amongst a lot of people, like,
it's a big ensemble.
A big ensemble, exactly. Mm-hmm. And like, it's a big deal for educators to be out there, because like those are the main folks, right, that are trying to like, and honestly, I go to, every time I've gone there, I'm like, damn, these people are, you could tell they are scrutinizing folk. A lot of band directors, you know what I mean? Like they know what they want. You know what I mean? They know what their ensembles need.
And like what they can do, what they're capable of. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And so I think the more I've gone, the more I'm like, okay, like this is, I may not necessarily be in the classrooms teaching per se, because at one point that's what I thought I wanted to do. I'm like, yeah, hell no, F them kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like,
but those kids will be reading your name.
Exactly. But like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't necessarily like especially with how schools are these days and like, administrations and stuff, like knowing how sensitive I am, I'm like, I don't think I can. I mean, I'm a pretty adaptable guy, but I'm a break. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a tough thing to be doing right now.
Exactly.
Sure. Well, I mean, the only reason I brought up your race is that
No, I'm glad you did.
There are, music educators out there who, rightfully so, will be seeking out music written by people who are not
like them,
white men.
Yeah.
And so, you getting your music on the market, hopefully some of those people who are seeking to like, broaden the repertoire, the canon,
not so homogenous
band music. Yeah. Hopefully some of them will pick up what you're writing.
Hell yeah. And that's honestly, it's shameless kind of thinking about it, but it's like, it's other people be like, hey, take advantage of it. I'm like, you know what? You're not saying. You're not wrong. I mean, like for us composers, it's like, we want to write, obviously want to get our stuff written to be heard of or whatever, but it's like, it's nice that there's an opening or whatever that's like, hey, like this house is for sale, you should go ahead and put, you know what I mean? Like the opportunity is there right there. It's not often for composers to see that like neon light, you know what I mean? That's like, hey, like here, there's an audience, there's like but it's like, you don't want to think of yourself trying to commodify your art or whatever, but it's like, damn it, especially in like, when it's a bunch of students and education's on the line, you kind of have to, You know, you kind of have to think
we have to commodify everything if we want to live, unfortunately. Well, like, and I guess that's not your fault.
No, but I was to asking you though, especially the type of music that you do you ever, like, how do you like, cause I know the stuff you write, you know, it's a very much a targeted, you know, DIY, if you will, right? Sure. But very much like, that's what I like about what you do. It's like, you know, you're not like you are not, afraid to like be like, hey, here's some crazy shit and we're going to make some, you know, some funky stuff happen. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, how do you like stare down at like trying, you know, at the, you know, at the fear of commodifying or whatever, you know, at the same time, like emboldening like your art integrity, if you will, you know what I mean? Like in the face of all of that pressure to, you know, to like try and like gleam it up and make it like whatever. You know what I mean?
That's an interesting question. Like,
not sure if you ever gotten that before, to be honest, but I figured.
It's not something that I've thought that much about because it's not like I'm like a very successful musician.
That's bullshit, man. No.
In terms of like, you know, how many people have heard it, who's paying me to do it, you know, whatever. But, obviously, you know, you have to be a little bit concerned with like covering your bills, you know? So I have work that covers my bills. And the work I'm doing now, I'm teaching, I run sound, I play piano, basically. Mm-hmm. Those are occupations that I can morally live with doing. You know?
I love that. Yes.
But I do, you know, I went to school for composition, and that's where we met. So obviously I have this like, you know, this drive inside me to create to some degree, right? Mm-hmm. And pursuing that led me down paths into like the more and more experimental, right? Yeah. And less commercial. It's harder to sell that stuff. And so, so I am sort of like, if I did want to make a living doing this, I have sabotaged myself over and over. Right?
I see what you're saying.
But I make money with like jobs, right? I don't not try to sell art, you know, but I'm also like not trying that hard to sell art.
I think I know what you're saying. It's like you're not trying to like, I hate to say it, you're not trying to like whore yourself out or whatever, or like you're not trying to like, you're not working on like a deadline that's imposed by like, you know, whether it's a publisher or like a record producer, you know, that we, you know, the Atlantic or whatever, like the big time name ones.
Well, and
part
of that is because like those opportunities hardly exist for anyone at this point.
Right.
So, you know, maybe if I had grown up in a time that was a little bit more, you know, they were throwing the money around a little more, maybe I would have pursued that a little harder.
You know what we should do? We should get into the Christian music thing. I heard that's where you get the big bucks. Can you imagine?
I don't know.
No, because apparently, you know, even though it's like a nonprofit thing, you know, some of those gospel folks, there's a whole thing in that. Like, it's crazy.
I mean, maybe the church is nonprofit.
Right?
But there's an industry.
There's definitely right though. But it's like, I know what you mean. I think one thing I would say, Justin, while we were in school that I did appreciate, it's that, we were kind of given like, I think we're kind of given the keys to like go ahead and create. And we did have fellow composers, and we did have players that were willing to like try some stuff out. And I think it was one thing looking back, I'm like, I wish that I took advantage of that more.
Yeah.
You know, rather than just like, oh shit, I have a recital coming up. You know, if it weren't for you and like, if it weren't for Chelsea and all these folks that were on my ass, but like, hey, we have a rehearsal on your music. You know what I mean? And you guys were willing to do it, I would have been screwed. You know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, part of that is like, you know, we had to learn how to take advantage of the resources.
Exactly though.
So we were kind of like behind.
But that's the thing. It's like, I would say that it's nice that we had the tools, you know, and I think looking back, it's like, wow. I wish that, you know, I knew more now that I do, you know, I wish that I could transplant what I know now I wish I knew then.
I wish that I knew at the time, like what I had access to.
Exactly.
Because as soon as you're out of school, like, you know, it's asking a lot out of somebody to like ask them to work on music with
Thank you.
You know?
And, you know, and this whole thing with with playing at Code, like, so what really stinks right now is that, honestly, what really freaking sucks right now is that the music a lot of the music departments in small schools like Cornell or whatever, they're getting shafted, just because
Yeah.
the money's going into like it was going into the stuff that is commodifying worth or whatever. Like the
Athletics.
Oh, exactly. We'll just leave it at athletics. You know what I mean? We need our foosball. We need our sports ball. But the arts and stuff like that, unfortunately it's getting second, third fiddle right now. But when I go to and I go to the band rehearsals and stuff like that, I do keep in touch with like a few of the guys that are into music composition. And when with the piece that you just heard, Rise, I'm like getting feedback from them and getting feedback from students being like, hey man, like this is cool or whatever. And not to say that, like not to like butter me up or anything like that, but just being able to talk to them and like, it got me thinking like, hey, I miss that.
Yeah, for sure.
Like that community within, that we were a part of, you know what I mean? That like, that kind of like, that propped each other up. Is not to say that didn't exist in like the athletics or any other like facet within like small schools, but I feel like we run the risk like of that just going away.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
So like with you teaching, do you ever, you're at Kirkwood, right? You're teaching at Kirkwood.
Yeah.
Like how does it feel being back in academia?
Well, I feel like the community college environment is a lot more suitable to like my attitude towards education. Like basically going to grad school taught me that like I am not like striving for academic success.
Right.
In that way. Like, becoming a tenured professor and like being a respected researcher in my field or anything, Like, I feel like if you're going to be employed at an educational institution, teaching students, like that should be what that job is.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
And that is a big part of it, but there's also a bunch of other bullshit that if you want to like keep your job and like succeed and like continue to advance your career, you have to be doing all this other stuff that I don't care about.
All of like the bloatware that you get on your phone or whatever, that's like part of it. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, you have to, grading papers is one thing, but when it comes to like all of like the bureaucratic, academic,
there's that.
Academia, because academia is never really thought of like in a positive gleam. I can tell you that because my parents were both in academia and they both got the shaft. You know what I mean? Whether it's,
well, shit, their whole school's gone now.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Like, case in point, 10 years ago, my dad, he got laid off just, because at that point, Iowa Wesleyan, they were shuttering a lot of like their humanities programs, so my dad was a communications professor. But like the English department, even their chemistry department, all of like these other small departments in the small school got shuttered in favor of, education, nursing, business, and of course sports, which nothing against those programs, but it's really kind of it sucks for the students that spent, that money there or, and for this to happen, but yeah, it's, but going back to your thing, you're in it for the right reasons. And it's got to be nice to be able to, have students that can look up to what you're trying to do. And, you're teaching theory, and like you're a big theory nut, man. And, so I could tell that they'll definitely get a lot out of that. That's my guess.
I feel like I have
awesome.
a good rapport with the students and everything. And I'm not constantly trying to like impress my colleagues and like,
None of that bullshit. Are you willing to try and like, impress upon them, like, your creative process? Well, in a kind of a broad sense, right? Not like, necessarily like, not necessarily like what you do, but maybe a little bit of what you do to get them to be like, hey, I would like to do elements of that, of just creating. Like, I don't know if that's an opportunity.
I do like when I'm teaching concepts in a music theory class, I do try to like give them a reason for like why I'm talking about this thing. Cool. So like sometimes I'll apply it to like something that I've done musically before or like, well, some of them get curious and like Google my name and find my music. and so they've like experienced me in a classroom setting talking about like very basic, like major and minor harmony. And then they find my music and it's like a bunch of like squawking and like arrhythmic.
It's like, wait a minute, do we cover this later? But it's cool though. It's like you can do like kind of hate to say it, like Bruce Wayne and Batman, like
Yes.
at night you can do your crazy vengeance type, vigilantes.
Yeah, my music is like trying to clean up the streets. Yeah.
You kind of do though, which I kind of like about it. It's like the rules that need to be broken. God damn it, the tonal, this tonal Superman needs to be turned down a notch. And but like on the day, but it's like I think our stomping grounds do come down to like learning about theory, right? But it's like, but going back to when we were both at what I wish learning then that I know now, it's like, I wish that I didn't take for granted like the counterpoint or all that stuff, like the tools, because at 8:00 we're like, damn it. Like, I guess I'll do sightseeing, even though you're like, damn it, like, what's the point?
Yeah.
But now I'm like,
for 4 hours.
Exactly. You're right.
One nice thing is that my class is at 10 a.m.
Oh, thank God.
Which is,
so, no, that's
totally breaking with tradition, having, music theory first thing in the morning.
The Gen Zers and some Gen A Alpha folks, I think, right? I don't know if you have any Gen Alpha.
Probably. I don't know where the year cutoff is.
But I'm sure they'll be thanking you profusely for that. But
it wasn't my choice.
Wasn't it? But I think that having those basics, looking back, I'm like, damn, like that stuff is, you never know where those basics can take you, even though it's all theoretical.
Yeah. And I mean,
you know, all that.
Like I have found that, I took a high school music theory class. I was learning stuff on my own because I was trying to play guitar. And then I took music theory classes in in college.
Yeah.
And then, so I was learning all this stuff, but then actually I had to teach it a little bit in grad school, and then I actually learned a bunch of it.
Right.
This stuff isn't just like one and done and it. Like,
no.
Music is like a pretty major sort of entity, and
yes.
like you learn more, then you come back to the beginning stuff, and it's like, oh, I understand this in a completely different way.
Exactly.
Because I have a new relationship with the tonic now.
Exactly. Well, and that's the thing.
And I try to stress that to them too, that like all of the stuff that you learn when you're like going to music school, it all relates to each other. And like maybe you don't understand something one day, and then weeks later, you're just playing something on the piano, and it relates back to that thing you didn't quite understand, and it clicks, and it's like, oh,
yeah,
because it's not all just theoretical in your mind. This is real physical stuff happening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, even when we were in choir and all that stuff, and it's funny, all of our now I understand why the MU or MUA or whatever that you find in your syllabus that applied.
Oh, right, applied.
Yeah, the applied makes sense. You know what I mean? It's like now that I'm playing in band, I'm like, oh yeah, I am literally applying what I'm learning, whether I am aware of it or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, keeping yourself in tune. Like thinking about like the physical reverberations of your instrument when you are in tune, the things that you're like, the literature that you're playing, all that ties in. And yeah,
it, and then you actually feel it.
Exactly.
And that actually, the feeling it makes you know it more.
Exactly. And like the funny thing is they don't freaking tell you that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That it's going to make sense, whether it's like the next class or much later when we're talking about this in our 70th anniversary. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, since we were talking about like music that I make, can I play something for you?
I would love to. Yeah. Kind of. I was hoping that you would actually.
Yeah.
So.
This is like not super out there. It's kind of melodic, kind of in a major key. So
right on.
I'm wondering how you'll feel about it.
Cool.
For that little sample that faded out at the end there,
Yeah.
I have to shout out Jason Palomara, who gave me that sample years ago.
Oh, cool.
One of his students was doing something. I don't even know what that is really, but that just like kind of like railroad sound.
Dude, that's it's kind of like a film music-y kind of feel. You know what I mean? You know, that I kind of got like the kind of like the ethereal kind of like thing that's happening in there. And I had a feeling that I knew that it was a saxophone. That's why I smiled, because I'm like, at the beginning, I'm like, I wasn't sure that was like an EWI.
Oh, okay, sure.
Or if you
I just like went up the scale.
Yeah,
slowly.
yeah. When if you threw a saxophone and with some pedals, because I love that shit.
Yeah, it had a delay on it.
Yeah,
So it
this
was
is
sort of
fist pound. I'm surprised I haven't given you another one, and while we're doing this.
Yeah, I'll have to insert the fist pound sound
Please do.
effect there.
But that, dude, that's I really like. It kind of reminds me of the stuff that I would have done, like when I was, because I love like using like a program called Reason. Which we use when we took classes together. Just the idea of the acoustic and just obviously the electronic or sample kind of stuff. Not being afraid to kind of put those things together. I would say I really, and it's nice because I know like, I know with your typical veins and stuff that you write, like it felt like this was kind of like another one of your veins, without, but it felt so effortless, even though it's tonal or whatever you want to call it, it still felt like it was very much you. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I love
that's good.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I really liked it.
Thanks.
I know we talked about, I'm
Can
not
you
sure.
remind me what key I was playing in?
You're playing in G major.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. You're alto, right?
I think I was playing tenor on that.
So A for you. Not that it matters. So I'm not sure if we ever talked about Earthbound at all. The game.
I don't know if we have. I never have finished Earthbound, but I started it a couple times.
So
the Super Nintendo RPG.
So I promise that there is like the reason I bring it up is a game that I will never play just because.
Oh, you haven't played it? Okay.
Yeah, but I've heard some of the music in it.
Yeah,
The reason I haven't played it is just because like I know the final boss scares the shit out of me. I've seen enough of the final boss, like I'm good. It's kind of like a fever dream, like on acid, like I'm good. But the music kind of reminded me of like that sense. You know what I mean? Just outer worldly, but it's just like I don't know. It's hard to. I hate trying to like. I hate trying to like distill, like an experience or whatever into a few words. But it definitely felt. It felt kind of escapist, especially with like how hectic. I'm not sure. Like I've been kind of like politically exhausted, I guess you could say. And I'm ready for everything.
Well, that's unusual.
Yeah, right. Right. You know what I mean? Who'd have thunk it, right? Like, good Lord, everything's gone to crap, But like, it kind of felt like a nice like. Everything's going to be, not to throw in like a platitude, but it felt very much everything's actually going to be okay. Not like I'm going to shut myself in this room and play something, and like,
I don't know if I usually give people that feeling. So that's interesting.
You know what I mean? But in this case, like, despite it's kind of like against like the backdrop of like, just like the information overload. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I find myself on Reddit 24/7. You know what I
really?
mean?
That's a bad thing to do.
No, dude, it's a oh my god, it is a nightmare, bro. Like, I need to get off of that.
Which subreddits are you looking at?
Politics and all this garbage.
Like our politics.
I'm
sure that's horrible.
Yeah, there's one on like I'm not sure if you heard of Laura Loomer.
I know Laura Loomer.
Yeah, there's
I know her very well.
Yeah, there's an OK Loomer subreddit instead of OK Boomer. So you can imagine like how, so that happiness right there.
Yeah. Not to turn this into just all politics.
No, that's fine.
But Laura Loomer.
Have you had her on this? Have you had her on this yet?
She has not been a guest on Rock.
That'd be hilarious.
Honestly, a year ago, that may have been like achievable. Because in leading up to the caucuses at the beginning of this year.
Oh, for sure.
In like January, she was like just like live streaming and like recording YouTube videos where she was just like following Ron DeSantis around, like bothering him.
Oh, wonderful.
Just, like on Rock Hard Caucus, I found a video of her following Ron DeSantis into a hotel lobby.
What?
just like harassing him.
That then again, that does not surprise me. So.
And he just ignored her and then like walked away with his security people, and she acted like she had like done something like important.
Oh my God.
So that was like my last Laura Loomer thing until she apparently became like part of the Trump team like last month or whatever.
Exactly.
Like, how did she go from that to like actually, you know, at the right hand of power or whatever?
Grifting, brother. That's the only thing I could think
How
of,
did she actually pull that off?
I don't know, man. Like, I think she just like the whole cat and dog, you know, cuisine thing, and just like, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, she had a hand in that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I just, I don't know. Crazy begets crazy is kind of my thing. And I think that's part of it, right? Where it's, I don't know if there's really any end, you know, to what people can believe, you know?
Probably not.
No. And like, not to get so like not to get so rhetorical, but that's the part that's just really getting me. Even like my black countrymen, you know, they're like, hey man, like, I'm gonna vote for this idiot that said this weird
Trump?
shit. Oh, absolutely. Especially, you know, like, especially the demographic of black dudes, unfortunately, is trickling up. Don't know why.
Yeah.
You know,
I saw that Obama was scolding black men recently.
Exactly.
Did you see that speech?
I need to watch it again.
He's scolding you.
Yeah. I started, you know, I need to take a bath after talking about it. Yes. I definitely felt that in my soul. No, dude. I feel like no matter what's going to happen in the next few weeks, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I need to log off, you know, my Facebook, you know.
Sure.
Listen to your song over and over again just to get me in that.
Yeah, I'll send you the MP3.
What is that song called?
Oh shit! I was wondering if you might ask.
God damn it.
So
No,
this is I recorded this last month. I was
Okay.
I was like brainstorming like different mini series or like side series that we could do for the podcast.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And one idea that I had was like a less politics focused, less anything focused, less focused.
Less
in general.
focused, yeah.
Just like more of like a sort of more casual chat show.
I like that.
And the series would be called, I haven't recorded any episodes of it, but it would be called Soft Cock.
Of course.
Sorry for being vulgar.
Right. We've already passed vulgarity, man. We're good. But no, soft cock. Right
But
on.
yeah, that was like something I just kind of recorded quick that could be like theoretical theme music for Soft Cock.
Soft cock. You can throw in some poultry kind of thing in there, you know, like salmonella. I don't know, man. I saw salmonella. No, that does not ring salmonella to me. But soft cock, I think that's a good one right there.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, I think for your sensibilities, you know,
Just kind of like a chill song as like intro
Exactly.
music to like something a little bit more chill. Yeah.
I think that's the word. The chill is definitely. I think that's definitely the what I would go with, right? You know, I'm not sure if you want to call it like chill wave or anything like that, but like very much chill in a very broad sense, you know, and I feel like it fits. I feel like it fits what you're trying to do.
Cool.
Without you trying to, you know, mold yourself into something unnaturally. So it felt really, once again, effortless, and it felt very like, oh, hey, we're doing this now. You know what I mean? I really like that.
Cool. I'm glad that you enjoyed it.
Yeah, man.
Can we listen to another one of yours?
Sure. Why not?
Okay.
You pick, and we can like, yeah.
Okay. Well, let's do this one that I know is published, which is Dreamer's Overture.
Right on.
Right. And I actually don't know. So the recording you sent me of this, do you know who's playing that?
Yeah. Okay. I'd be happy to talk about it. So, no mind, a little bit of a backstory. So, I followed, about a couple years ago, the reason why I kind of got into this whole like resurgence of writing, or at least I've only written 3 pieces, but at least got my focus back into, hey, this is what I want to try and do a little bit, you know, after work or whatever. So I follow, his name is Randall Stanridge. He is very much a populist, very much a wonderful, well-known composer of band, like the last like 10 or so years.
Can I ask you what makes him a populist?
Like, no, very much in his words too.
Interesting.
But yeah. He mentioned like, you know, very much like very tonal, right?
Oh, so like the music that he's making.
Not like we're going to build a wall blues, or, you know, like that's not like that or anything like that.
So
or,
populism in the sense of like he's writing music that he thinks a lot of people will
exactly.
connect to. Okay.
Very much
Gotcha.
so. Like very much that, you know, very much kids are going to like it. Band directors are going to be like, oh man, the kids are going to like this piece. You know, as Randall Sanders, you know, very much that style. And honestly, I think he's trying to check this space of how to make band fun again. this sounds like MAGA real quick, make band great again.
Great again.
You know what I mean? Like, unfortunately, but
I was kind of thinking about that.
You know what I mean?
When we listened to your first tune, and I was thinking about how the concert band is like somewhat antiquated, but not as antiquated as like an orchestra is.
Exactly.
But there are sort of like tropes in concert band music.
Oh, very much so.
And it is somewhat old fashioned. Like everything harkens back to like Sousa.
Very much so.
So I'm interested in what that means, making it fun again.
And that's what you definitely hear in Dreamer's Overture. In fact, it was almost called Dreamer's March, just because I just want, you know what I mean? Because there's elements of that you'll hear. But anyhow, I had Randall had mentioned, he had posted something about composing or whatever, something general. And just for the heck of it, I had mentioned like my thoughts about being a composer and some of his difficulties or whatever. I'm not sure what the post was about. And he's like, "Hey, are you a composer? What's your website or whatever? May I see your music?" I'm like, oh, here you go. And he just hits me up after that. And he heard Dreamer's Overture. I'm like, oh, Jesus, you actually just took the time to listen to this. Like, are you serious? You know what I mean? And like, I had a website. I do have a website. It's not, I tend to like do a thing, like I tend to do a thing of try to like water down like my accomplishments.
Oh, sure.
But that website is garbage. You know what I mean? I'll be honest with you. You know what I mean? So
who cares about websites anymore?
No, for real.
Like,
no.
I kind of do, but I mean, in general, like who's looking at them?
That's true. No, you're right. But to a broader extent, I felt the same way about what I do too. I'm like, the stuff that I've written, damn, I'm thinking, who's going to listen to this, But here he did actually, taking a listen, and he asked me, "Hey, have you ever published before?" I'm like, "Nope, never have." And, he invited me to submit something, and obviously with no guarantees or anything like that. But he thought, he mentioned like, it's kind of similar to the stuff that he's written, which I never thought about writing for the masses, if you will, which, it's kind of counter to like, writing, I don't know, from like the conversations that you and I have talked about, I'm not necessarily trying to sell myself out or whatever, but writing for band, it's kind of like the lessons I'm learning writing for band. You don't necessarily have to follow those tropes. You can break them. However, you got to learn the stuff that works. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, it is a collection of instruments.
It's a collection of instruments.
And people playing those instruments.
Exactly.
And like, there's.
Yeah.
Some stuff just is like, it's a trope for a reason.
Exactly, because it works.
Because guys like Sousa, who are writing a piece every day, they.
Yeah. And that's something I'm learning. You can have fun with it, like as long as like the stuff that, like that is stuff that's going to work for bands. It's going to work for.
Well, that goes back to something I said earlier.
Yeah.
That like, this isn't just something on paper. Like music is a physical, real thing.
Exactly.
Right? And so it's subject to the laws of science.
Exactly. You can't have, right. It's like the same reason why you can't have a tuba, playing 3 octaves higher and like the higher instruments switching it, the flute or, I mean, you can, you know what I mean?
Probably won't hear the flute anymore.
Exactly. So like, it's one of those things, like you can cook a dish by having onion as the main dish or whatever. And like, like vegetables that are normally like, you can have them playing different parts, as far as the efficacy, that's up to you. Your mileage might vary.
Right.
But, you might make it hard on yourself. It could be done, but, you got to, but thinking about like, think about what's feasible, but also like if it's also going to like sound good. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, and I think that's
fewer people might get it.
Fewer people might get it, but it's like, but with, and that's what I liked about what we listened to and like the stuff that you've done too. It's like, no matter what the paradigm is, it's like the stuff that, the stuff that you've gotten people to write, Justin, it worked. You know what I mean? Like, even though it's out there, it worked. You know what I mean? And it did the intended effect. Right, you know what I mean? For whatever that effect was. And, with marching band, with concert band, it doesn't necessarily need to be like these very banal, if you will, sort of like things like this is a happy march or this is sad, these very like cookie cutter sort of emotions or whatever.
Yeah.
Even though that's the stuff that tends to market very well, like that's, getting kids to play this type of stuff, like, attaching some sort of like emotion, if you will, or whatever, not necessarily major or minor, happy, sad, but like very like these broad things, but the space to like, color it these different things or these different feelings or whatever, the marching band, concert band and orchestra, especially in marching concert band, sorry, there's the space is
They're sitting down.
Yeah, you're sitting down. Yeah, the space is very much. There's definitely a lot more opportunity to like color in some of that stuff. So that's kind of like my next thing I want to try and do. To throw. Yeah, so I think that's something that when I listen to what you've put down, especially, I'm like, oh yeah, that's why I had a hard time trying to find like the right set of words to describe what I listened to. Chill's definitely one of them, but it's like it's happy, but it's not just like the banal happiness. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like you can color it. It's like you're not just throwing salt. It's not like just salt, onion powder, garlic, or whatever. Things that taste good. There's little nuances that give it some body. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So not to ramble about that stuff.
No, I appreciate that.
So that's something like with Dreamer's Overture. It's definitely like. So like you'll hear it in a Mixolydian key. It's my favorite key.
There we go. That's the stuff I like to hear about.
Oh yeah. So where it's
I
like
love the flat 7.
the flat dude, thank you. Another fist pound right there. So that's something I like to do with my band pieces, just like the modal stuff, just because, it doesn't necessarily have to be major or minor, just something, at least that's one way I can at least throw in a little bit of zest or a little bit of a variation, I guess,
Yeah.
So it doesn't.
Yours might be the only predominantly Mixolydian piece on the bill.
You're right.
So it'll stand out a little bit just for that.
Yeah, that could be the spice, the kick that the audience like. Oh, I noticed that flat 7 there. This guy's cooking.
Yeah. So somebody in the audience, they're just like falling asleep, and then they hear a flat 7. It's like,
Like,
what?
What the hell is
You
that?
can do that?
Yes.
Wait. So my question was, who played this in this?
Oh
recording?
God, I am so sorry.
Do you remember?
Yes, I do. So Reynold, and actually it goes back to Reynold Stanbridge.
Yeah.
So right before he published it, he actually had a group that he assembled, I believe, in Arkansas, where he recorded out of, and a bunch of like community members and whatnot got together and performed the pieces that were released this year.
Yeah. So they were like the score was published.
Exactly, the score was published.
Okay. So he put together a group to.
And they sounded freaking phenomenal.
That sounds really good. This is like a volunteer band.
Exactly. I'm like, I was blown away. I knew it was going to sound, I knew that his group, especially Randall Sandbridge or whatever, god of populist music, whatever. I had no idea that was going to sound that good. So
yeah. Let's let the people listening to the podcast hear it now too. So this is Dreamer's Overture, composed by my friend Duroje and played by a band put together by, it's Randall Stanbridge, right?
That is correct.
Okay. And here it is. there's like that little tag in there that's like, that sounds so familiar.
Yeah, it's might have been something I might have ganked from a Sousa thing, but that's a Sousa reference. That was like not a reference, but definitely that influence
Intended
for sure.
to sound like, yeah,
exactly.
Oh man, what is that?
If you can find it, man, let me know, because I swear to God, when I wrote it, I'm like, I'm sure I'm stealing something. No, it's one of when I wrote the piece, like, so it's a couple of interesting things. Actually started the idea.
Yeah,
that was
main theme.
Yeah, that was my senior year, your junior year, when I was frantically coming up with music to come up with for my recital. Mm-hmm. That actually was like some. It was going to be like an electronic music thing. That situation, that theme was going to be in there, and it just went nowhere really fast. So when you're writing stuff and like you have these tidbits, I'm like, okay. So we're like, they're modular at one point. You're like, okay, this might actually not work in this environment after all.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and move this somewhere else. 3 years.
It's smart not to waste anything,
Waste not one. But it's something I'm like, I had to learn the hard way. There's so much shit that I've written. I'm like, God damn, like I need to feel like I need to dig through the trash and figure out like, okay, maybe I could salvage this or whatever before it becomes like a total waste. But I've learned like, hey, I can actually, because I've been sitting on that idea for a while until, a few years later when, actually, did you play in band after you graduated?
I remember I played a couple graduation ceremonies, but that's it.
So, do you remember in 2013, did you ever play at all?
I think I played the graduation ceremony that year because my brother-in-law graduated that year.
Oh, yeah, Bo, right?
Jake,
yeah. So
Bo is my father-in-law.
Oh, right. That's right. Yeah. Hey, father-in-law. Yeah. So actually, I think they played Dreamer's Overture, at commencement.
In 2013?
In 2013.
Oh, I would have played it then, but I don't remember.
No, you're good. No, dude. Yeah, no, you're good. I mean, it sounds way different. Much more polished than it did then. And even 2013 when Bill and them, the concert band did it, even better than the first draft. There was like some freaky carnival part in there. I'm like, it was in 7/8.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God. And that was one of those things where like, not in this environment.
Yeah, maybe, you should save that and reuse it sometime.
Yeah. But no,
a freaky 7/8
freaky 7/8 bullcrap.
You can't throw that away forever.
Oh God, no! And I caught your attention. You're like freaky 7/8.
Give me that.
No, but I remember I was in North Liberty. So we were definitely our biggest critic. At least I am for myself. And I remember like trying to sit down, trying to come up with something, because I knew that whenever someone. It was one of those cases where, hey, I'm given a project to start on or whatever. It could be anything you want. When Bill's like, hey, write something for band or whatever. I'm like, all right, cool.
You're given no directive.
No direction, exactly.
Yeah.
Let alone trying to do something for myself, right? Because I'm constantly trying to, fix every fuss with every little thing or whatever, and it never gets finished. Mm-hmm. But I remember, okay, here's an opportunity to write something for a large ensemble that I've never done before. I mean, I've done arrangements, but not of my own. So yeah, it's one of those where I just had to sit down and, do the thing, right? And I know it sounds very, like internet Shia LaBeouf thing, like just do it, but it's one of those things where, okay, there's nothing else to do than just write. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Cause it's not going to be, I can't just wait on last minute panic on every scenario, right? Because you're not going to get
some things are too big for that. Actually.
Exactly. Yeah. And I know it's easier said than done, but honestly, I mean, it's a reminder for me and for everybody that's trying to get into, any creative endeavor. Just do the thing, and you can worry about all the interlocking stuff later.
That was a problem I had early on too when I was younger and thinking of myself as like a creative genius. I didn't think of myself that way.
No, you're good. You are, by the way.
Oh.
No, but I know what you're saying.
But you have these like lofty ideas of like I write music, and you think that it's all like just brilliance coming out of your mind. Mm-hmm. And you don't realize how much of it is like the actual just like hunker down and actually you have to like do shit.
Exactly. It kind of makes you think
you don't know that until you actually like reach the point of having accomplished a few things and you realize, oh, a bunch of that was just like menial labor.
Exactly. Thank you.
To actually like accomplish this like creative vision, I have to do a bunch of like boring stuff.
Yeah. It's like when we're playing our video games, right? It's like our Rhydon didn't get to level 45 to evolve without like, okay, unless you had a bunch of rare candies. That doesn't get, but then again, you got those rare candies from doing a lot of menial work. It all started from somewhere. It's like we only get to enjoy like the coasting or whatever when we actually put in like the actual, the building blocks together, whether it's like raising up, whether it's like building up your RPG guys or whatever to get to those right levels, doing the grinding. I mean, I think that's probably like a big, not to segue into video games, but I feel like that's like a big product of like what we grew up with, like the hard NES style of video games where shit's hard, but damn it, you're going to get better and you feel like that pat on your back, because that's, gone or, I mean, not, now that there's that resurgence of like those hard type of video games, like this, like the Dark Souls and stuff like that. But like, actually putting in the actual like oomph, like the actual work or whatever in like the RPGs and stuff like that. I think we do. I don't know, when we going back into like writing and stuff. I do think about the grind and like, yikes, like this is kicking my ass. Like, do I want to quit or do I really just want to see this through? Like this idea that you're, this A section that you're like, damn, is going somewhere not where it kind of feels like you're trying to like, you're walking like this really aggressive dog. Yeah. He wants to go this way, but like, do you like let him take you down the street or whatever and harass some strangers? Or do you want to try and like put some work and try and like, rein this idea in? So it's like
pull on the leash.
You're trying exactly. Yeah. Do you let the muse? It's like it's a rhetorical question, but almost like, do you let the muse like when you're putting in this work, trying to where you're putting life into this idea? Do you let it dictate it in these critical junctures where the B section in your mind, might be totally different? You're meant to go down the street, but nope, the dog sees some interesting shit this way. Do you go this way or do you actually try and like meander yourself? Maybe you go that way, but meander yourself back to where you initially wanted to go.
Yeah, that is an interesting part of like the creative process is like the ego involved in like you have a creative idea and then you're executing it, and how much of it is like you and your drive.
Yes.
And how much of like, or did you like receive this idea in some sort of like metaphysical sense? And now you are tasked with allowing the idea to become reality. Yeah. And I feel like first of all, learning about John Cage was huge for me.
Good.
And like he was trying to separate himself from the creation in a lot of his work, like bringing chance into it and sort of like all the vein of like aleatoric music that came out of that, taking the self out of the musical creation,
the literal ego. Yes.
And that was a very like compelling idea to me, just like thinking about it in those terms of like, is the music me or like, am I helping the music to become real? Yeah. And then I also like in the period like shortly after I finished grad school and I was like totally rudderless. I like I hear you. I was not like really thinking about music that much, but I read Stephen King's book On Writing, which he goes into his own creative process pretty in depth in that book. And I also read I think it's called Catching the Big Fish by David Lynch.
Ooh.
The director. And he talks a lot about meditation in that, which I didn't really get into. But what I got out of both of those is both of those guys whose work I like really respect and like enjoy most of. Yeah. They're very driven by like allowing the idea to like develop itself.
Cool.
So like Stephen King doesn't go into writing a book like having the whole thing mapped out in his mind. And David Lynch works the same way with a lot of his stuff. He has like
good to know.
He has like an image that he like receives through his process of like transcendental meditation.
Interesting.
Which I don't know. He very much believes that like the idea is like given to him,
right?
Rather than he came up with it himself, and then allowing that starting point to sort of spin out its own creation.
Wow!
And like you're really doing it. You're like you're helping that idea develop itself
to germinate.
You're not the one, dictating the structure.
Wow.
And that's not how it all works. But like,
Right.
Just thinking about it in terms of like, how much do I just like let this thing run off on its own? Like exactly what you were saying.
Yeah.
Or do I need to enforce like my original conception onto this?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like when you, it's kind of like, trying to think, like, I think of like a slow, I guess imagine if you will, like a slow moving like thing of water where like it's in a conduit that is semi like malleable. And while it's going, you could like, kind of like influence it to go one way or another or whatever. You can turn the pipes or whatever. I'm trying to think of, or like,
we've straightened a lot of streams here in the state of Iowa. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Or it's like, or I guess in David Lynch's sense, or are you familiar with Price is Right? When you were sick, your mom and dad made you some soup. Remember Plinko?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
It's kind of like that where, you drop it, obviously there's only so much.
How much of that path is decided by the person dropping it?
Like, I'm sure you can throw in some velocity, like on how you like dangle like the coin or whatever. But that's what I think about too, where can you call the path of the Plinko? Oh my God, that's a new piece. Can you call the path of the Plinko going down to its ideal spot, which is at $10,000? Do you call that path? Like, do you call that like a composition that you kind of like started? You know what I mean?
Right.
That path being
the player chose where to drop it.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that's I think that's something that I probably need to like think of more, like, not necessarily like trying to like shoehorn like aleatorics, but that'd be a cool thing to throw in a band piece, but not just for the sake of like, aleatoric music, which is music by chance, but in the creative process, just like little parts where like, hey, I'm stuck. Finding a way for an inflection point, or if you will, of this idea to go ahead and germinate rather than try and force a dog to go down, or like my son, Iotunde. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to do what he does. I mean, I kind of had to guide him, but he's, we want to also teach him to be his own kid, his own person.
Right.
You know what I mean? We don't want to.
You drop him into the Plinko.
He dropped the right, kind of like that, like drop the baby down. Yeah. Not to get crazy.
Drop him feet first.
Drop him feet. Exactly. If Sarah's listening to that, she's probably gonna have some words. But yeah, very much so. Where it's like, or at least putting the baby with all the toys. What toys he's gonna play with. I kind of think about it. I guess that's one way to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, he is your creation.
He is my creation. Yeah.
You were the starting point, obviously.
Yes. I just hope he remembers that, if he makes it rich and stuff.
Yeah. And if you were inclined to be like very egotistical about your ideas, you could think of, you belong to me. My son, you are my piece.
Yeah, exactly.
You are a piece that duration of which is an entire human life.
If I really wanted to go down that road, yeah. Once again, that could be edited out if you wanted to.
Okay, you have a trombone with you.
I sure do.
And I wasn't planning on like what we could do with that.
But it's all good. It could honestly just sit pretty, man. But that is
we could just stare at it.
We could literally just stare at it, man. Yeah.
Do you want to hear something else that I have?
Let's hear
something else I worked on.
I'd love to. Let's do that.
So this is something that I played a show at a house venue last month. It was more like a punk show, but they invited me to like do my thing there.
Oh, cool.
And so I wanted to have something. Like, I didn't just want to jump in and just like noodle around. I wanted
to have something.
I wanted to have like a piece to play, like a song for them.
Yeah.
And so I put together this Ableton track. Like, I have some drum machine samples and like I think it's a 7/4 pattern that repeats over and over. And I have it accelerate, and then at the end it decelerates rapidly. And I was practicing that and sort of like figuring out like what the piece is, and kind of allowing it to kind of tell me what it was.
Yeah.
So this is an excerpt from one of my practice sessions with that piece.
Nice.
So you'll hear the drum machine and you'll hear me playing saxophone over it and like trying to find like what this is.
Cool.
There was a radio in there too. That's what that static is.
That's what's up. Do you have a working title?
I don't think I even came up with a working title for that one. I don't have a soft cock for that one.
Soft cock, yeah. Whatever the opposite of soft cock was, right?
Well,
right, hard roost, hard hen, or whatever. No, that was pretty. I really like that one too.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's kind of like both what we listen to. Just desperate. They're desperate, but they feel
disparate.
Disparate, but you can tell that they could have both be like part of like something together. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a similar aesthetic.
Yeah,
it's the same instruments, the same kind of like noisy stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I like honestly, I really like kind of so do you use Ableton primarily for your like those for your type of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, if it's something that involves like a drum machine, I'm typically like setting that up in Ableton.
Nice.
And then I was just like playing the track off my phone.
Oh,
and
cool.
Playing along with it.
I like that.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say I need to mess more with with Reason and stuff, but like Ableton I've heard is really amazing for like live stuff.
Yeah, I haven't really played with it live. My friend Jason Palomar uses it live all the time, and he's like really good at it. But I haven't tried it in that setting.
Have you Max MSP? That whole like
yeah.
I'm curious some of this. I know actually. I think I've seen or listened to some of the stuff with you and Jason. I think you're using the Max MSP stuff, right?
Yeah, I use that. Like when I do electronic stuff, like accompanying a dance class, I typically will use a patch that I made in Max because it gives me a little bit of like flexibility with tempo stuff.
Right on.
And like I like the way that I can have multiple loops going at once and they don't have to like match up beat wise, but yeah, Max is cool. I learned that in grad school and it's sort of like fairly open ended, like what you can do with that.
Could you connect that to like other MIDI, like to other MIDI controllers?
Oh yeah. You can definitely use MIDI controllers with it. And Max also like has functionality like with Ableton too.
That's kind of what got me thinking about that.
So like you can control parameters and stuff in Ableton using algorithms that you code in Max or whatever.
That's gotta be insane, just the shit that you could come up with.
Yeah. I'm a novice still when it comes to that stuff, but the possibilities are
literally endless.
Yeah.
You should, because I heard that Reason, you can get a Reason patch or a Reason VST you throw in there as well for other worldly craziness you can probably come up with.
Yeah.
No. So this is at Gabe's, right?
No, I played. Well, this recording was in my garage, but I was preparing for a show at Purgatory, which is a house venue. Yeah.
Gotcha. What did that already happen, or when was that happening?
That was, I think, September 19th, I think it was.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
I need to make it down over there sometime. Honestly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I like all that stuff gets posted on Instagram. So if you see like a show that looks interesting to you, I'll go with you.
Yeah, man, that'll be awesome.
Yeah.
I'll keep that in mind. Just, I'm not really trying to go downtown anymore. I mean, it's not really my cup of tea. You know what I mean? Like, I would probably go to like, obviously places like Gabe's, whatever. Is there like wasn't the yacht club at one point? Wasn't it like a, what the hell is it called? Where there's like arcade or something? Isn't there an arcade thing somewhere downtown?
There's a couple spots that I know about. There's one on the Ped Mall, which is called like On Tap or something. Why would it be called that? But it has, I know they have games in this place I'm thinking of. And, there's like a bowling alley in the Chauncey, like that huge building. And that bowling alley has a few arcade cabinets and pinball machines.
Dangerous to know.
And, okay, Yacht Club for a time was being called
something. What the hell was it?
What was the, they've changed the name twice now.
Yeah.
So when it was like focused on comedy and video games, it was, the Joystick. It was called Joystick.
The Joystick.
Arcade. Yeah. And now it's called Alley Cat. I'm not sure if they're shifting their focus again to something else. It's now called Alley Cat. I haven't been in there in a while. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm kind of far away removed from what's happening downtown. But when I was there like a while ago, just driving through, I'm like, it's same old, but it's cool seeing new stuff popping and stuff like that. So
I mean, if you go a few blocks south, there's probably a few more luxury apartment buildings than you remember. But
dude, I was driving by Riverside. I'm like, there's some craziness that's happening. Like near like that 4-way stop. You know what I'm talking about?
Are you talking Riverside Street?
Yeah, Riverside Street.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, they tore down a couple of big old buildings.
Gentrifying the hell out of that place, you know?
They sure are.
Same thing that's happening in First Avenue, Cedar Rapids, you know, for all the folk. It's different, man.
Yeah, I mean, the few blocks around where we went to college are quite different now. Quite
different.
Yeah.
But that's crazy though, not to get all so like civil engineering and stuff like that, but you know, there's no Hy-Vee that, rest in peace, Hy-Vee down. Like, what are they going to do?
I know. It's
that's
despicable.
Like, for real. I mean, ideally it'd be nice to throw in like an Aldi, but there's no way they're going to do that. You know, it's probably going to be like a Dollar General or Save a Lot or something.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. I think Aldi would be probably like, you know, the best we could hope for. You know, a very affordable grocery store in that area would be pretty good fit, I would assume.
Cheers to Aldi. I mean, that's where we do most of our stuff anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's where you can afford to buy food.
Where you can afford to buy food. Yeah. Here's looking at you, Hy-Vee.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
And there's not like an armed cop at the door in Aldi.
No, you didn't even.
Which there are.
So make sure you bag your own groceries.
Yeah.
They tap at their.
I am disappointed that Aldi has brought in the self-checkout machines too.
I am. It just honestly, it does feel like this is like a turn for, you know, some weirdness, man. You know what I mean? I don't like it either.
Yeah. Like you know, over the past, 15 years, there's been this big move to self-checkout, and it's like, well, everyone knows how to steal using the self-checkout now, so we have to we'll get rid of all the cashiers. Okay, we bring one back to stare at you while you do the self-checkout.
Exactly.
And then we station one at the door to check your receipt. It's like, come on.
Yeah. It's going to be, it's...
Just pay them to check out the groceries.
Thank you.
Without me.
Yeah,
Don't make me do it.
Don't make me do it. Exactly.
Don't make me do it and feel like I'm like being surveilled while I do it.
Well, right. On the other side,
like, if you don't trust me to do it, don't make me do it.
Don't make me do it. No, I agree. Maybe one set checkout is one thing, but like where it's all but just like, you know, all self checkouts and like one person that like I've done the job before. It's manual labor. It's a lot, but my God, you know, I don't know, the whole self checkout thing, man. I feel you on that one myself.
Well, and like,
you know,
they're going to have to come help you anyway.
They will. Exactly.
Like,
you actually
probably 2 out of 3 times you use it. You're
like
going to screw something up.
You screw something up. You're like, you just stand there, you know, like a duck or whatever, you know? Yeah. I'm sure they probably don't feel good about it either. You know, the workers,
yeah,
you know, so, but yeah, but cheers to Aldi for doing the right thing with those prices, man.
I mean, at least I can afford the food there.
Exactly. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, do you have anything to plug? Do you have any, like, people should go to your shitty website?
Get to my shitty website. No, man, if you like green and white, my Nigerian colors, you know, you get an overload of that. Let's see. So I play for Faux Doubt, which is, you know, the No Doubt cover band. I think in March we have something going on at the Ideal. Which would be the first time we played something in almost a year.
Really?
So I'm looking forward to that.
I have not been to the Ideal. Have you been there yet?
I've never been there yet, but it looks really nice.
I know a few people that have played there, but I haven't been there yet.
I will be at so the Midwest thing that we were talking about in Chicago, the Midwest Conference.
The Midwest Clinic.
I will be there. My piece will be amongst many other amazing pieces out there that are in print at the Randall Stanbridge booth. You can you can go on YouTube. You can find his music, a lot of newer music out there, including mine, Dreamer's Overture. But you'll find a lot of like newer stuff that's been put out there. There's a gal. Her name is Jennifer Rose. She's really cool. She writes electroacoustic music for band and orchestra, and that's like it really caught my attention just because. Like, it was one of those things like, damn, why don't we do more stuff like that? Kind of like the stuff that you put out there, you know, where like a backing track or like, you know, drums or whatever, and throwing in some some stuff on top of that.
Is that how her pieces work? Like it's for an ensemble, but there's also a track that cool. Yeah.
And Alex Shapiro also, she's kind of like the progenitor of like the electroacoustic in a broader band, you know, like a large group sense.
Yeah. Is this intended for like high school bands to play also? Or?
Yeah, they can, and also middle school bands too. Like I think there's some music out there that's kind of like music, band music's in grades. So like, one, it's like, I think it's like grade 2, grade 3.
Dreamer's Overture, I believe, is a grade 3.
Yes,
according
sir.
to the track that I have.
Yes, sir. Yeah. But, those are, I bet you actually, especially with like Jennifer Rose, but Alex Shapiro too. She, there's a piece that we did that the concert band, Co-College concert band did called Homecoming. That's got like a rock band and it's got like some tracks and stuff like that too. And not to say like, hey, that's some shit that I want to do too. Hey, I'm going to do it too. That's like actually like shit. Like that's something I'm like, like going into like my next creative endeavor, I have all these ideas. Those are definitely one of them,
Sure.
where you have like all of these tools in your toolbox or whatever. Have you ever played fighting games like Tekken?
A little bit. I've never been serious about it, but
so I bring up Tekken because, characters like Kazuya and all these like, all these characters have like 50, 60 different like commands they can put in or whatever. Mm-hmm. But it's like, you only have so much health that you can work with. You know what I mean? You only have so much time they can throw in these combos and stuff. It's like, that's kind of what it gets me thinking about what combo can I use this time? Rather than like going with the same old bag of tricks that I have, mm-hmm. at least I personally have felt like I've been doing. Or like that same thought process. Like, do I want to throw in like, we're talking about the aleatorics, or we're talking about letting that idea that came into my mind, taking myself out of it. Mm-hmm. Like trying to like, rather than try and like, and I think that goes with life too. Like instead of trying to like, it's nice to plan things, but I'm a perfectionist. Not sure if you know this. I'm a big perfectionist. I mean, not sound like it, with like how I do things in my life. If you look at my car, it looks pretty shitty. But like,
I think
you know what I'm saying?
I think that those things actually go together because I have felt a little bit of this impulse in my own life. Mm. Your perfectionist tendencies, that you're like this, right?
Yeah.
So that once you start to clean out the car, you have to get it 100%.
Exactly.
Right? And you don't start until you're ready. You have the time to do 100% car
exactly.
cleaning.
And it has to be 100% too, because what's the point? But when do you feel like you find yourself slogging through 25% of this, you're like, this is kind of like a fruitless endeavor, a futile thing where like, wait a minute, like, you're wiping things down or whatever, but you see this little spot. But I need to invest in more expensive things to clean out these spots, and all of a sudden, like you've sunk, it becomes a sunk cost thing. Like, wait a minute, I put in like X amount of dollars just to clean out my car. But, for this, you know what I mean? Where it's like, wait a minute, why am I cleaning out my car for
right.
You know what I mean? And all of a sudden, like you've sunk in all this time.
And that's where you're going to end up. So why even start?
Exactly. My wife hates that shit. Yeah. Yeah.
But I get it. Yeah. I've done this myself.
So I'm glad I'm not
every
the only
aspect
one.
of my life. I've had the same thought process.
So like, but maybe it's a question for us. It's like for both of us, it's like, what could we do? I guess when it's like in a creative sense, do I need to like maybe start like smaller, manageable? You know what I mean? Like,
try to break it down.
Well, try to break it down. Like what can I do? I guess, where I don't need to necessarily come up with like this big grade 5 piece or anything or even grade 1, but like, what can I do so that like I've at least checked off a couple of those things and it's not, and like, and it gets me wanting to do more of that thing, and it's not a chore.
Yeah.
Like I think that's like a big thing that I keep asking myself. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Rather than like feel beholden to something that requires a lot of my energy, and I become like beholden to it.
Think about all the things you want, break them down into smaller, more manageable chunks. Yeah, exactly.
I think that's what it boils down to. Yeah, dude.
Yeah. Well, as we wrap things up, I want to plug a couple events that I have coming up.
Heck yeah.
I will be performing with the Christine Burke Ensemble at Public Space One's Close House in Iowa City on October 27th.
And where's that out for folks that are not from Iowa City?
Close House is at 538 South Gilbert Street in Iowa City.
Right on.
Yes, it's a big mansion that is owned by an arts nonprofit.
Nice.
Where I play a lot of shows these days. We'll be playing, I wrote one of the pieces that we're playing. I think we're playing a piece that Christine wrote. I don't know what all we're doing, but the Christine Burke Ensemble will be opening for, well, I'm not entirely sure at this point because we've had to change up, the personnel a little bit, but, Ross Klauser who is from here, but currently lives in Minneapolis.
Okay.
He's coming down to play. We're going to open for him. I don't know. I think he's putting together a group for this because there's, again, some change in personnel. But anyway, October 27th, that'll be a good time.
Right on.
And then next month in November, my trio Wombat is doing a small Midwest tour.
Nice.
This is a rare opportunity to see Wombat because one of the trio now lives in Seattle, which is pretty far away.
So Jason's in Indiana, right?
Jason's not part of Wombat, actually.
Oh, sorry.
But yes, he is in Indiana.
Okay.
Wombat is me and Will Yeager on the bass and Carlos Catayo Solaris on the electric guitar.
Oh, sick.
Carlos is all the way over in Seattle.
Oh, wow.
Will, until recently, was all the way in the opposite direction in Baltimore, but he's in Cedar Falls now.
Oh, how about that?
So he and I will hopefully be doing a lot more together soon.
The isosceles triangle is very tight. I like that.
Yeah. It's shifted a lot. But yeah, the three of us are getting together for a short Midwest tour. November 22nd, we'll be playing at Resource in Minneapolis. November 23rd, we're playing at Trumpet Blossom Cafe in Iowa City. And November 24th, we're playing at Comfort Station in Chicago.
Nice.
So that's 3 opportunities to see Wombat. Probably, definitely the only time you'll get a chance in 2024. But I don't know what we're going to do in 2025. Wombat shows are rare these days, so you should come and see us if you want to.
Oh, yeah. Then in our little calendar of sorts, see what's out there, yeah.
Yes. Okay, the plugs are over. And Duroje, you know that I like to end these shows with music. I have Metal.
Oh, yeah.
Of yours. It's Mettle, which is in progress, right? You're working on this?
Yeah, it's 90%, as far as I'm concerned. It's one of those things we're talking about, the whole perfectionist thing. I'm not going to lie. I wrote this under duress because I was moving from Oxford to Cedar Rapids at the time. I was stressed the fuck out when I wrote that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, not often do I get a chance to have this. I remember messing with some idea on the piano or whatever. I'm like, hey, I'm stressed out. I'm playing something for once. I can actually do something with this piano riff or whatever. And yeah, I just cranked it out one weekend. I say to rest too, just because, that was the year also that, Randall Stamp, my publisher, was asking for submissions. So that was something I said, hey, this is something I was working on.
Yeah.
It might be something for next year I could try with the same publisher or a different one, but, Metal, just because I needed to get my game face on and move some furniture. I was stressed. Like I said, I was so stressed not compared to now. But like moving is not something for the faint of heart unless, it sucks because we're going from the cushy 2.875 interest rate to 7.5 because, that cushy COVID rates are over. Everyone's trying to get homes and, we want to move to Cedar Rapids regardless.
Everyone's trying to get homes. The bank's trying to rip us all off.
They're taking the good.
They want to keep us out of the homes.
They'll kick us out of the homes. They're taking the good rates. So, so yeah, that's kind of where that came from. And this is once again, it was something that I wanted to do for band once again. Just to put something out there. Definitely kind of heavy in that sense. You'll hear a lot of like, glisses. You'll hear a lot of, foreboding. It kind of seems like something that you would hear during the Halloween kind of a thing.
So perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Because we're going to put this out on October 22nd. So this will get you in the mood for Halloween.
Hell yeah. So Metal is kind of a working title. I thought about Beyond the Pale, but that seemed pretty foreboding. But Metal is something I'm like, hey, one pithy name, see where that goes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So once I start playing this, we'll be done talking on the podcast. So, since it's out, can you just give me like a couple of notes on the trombone and I'll just point the mic at it?
Oh, sure.
It's out. We don't want to waste it.
Oh, God, no. Yeah.
A lovely trombone solo to precede this recording of Metal.
There you go.
And that'll conclude iHearIC Radio episode 137, the 7th anniversary.
That's a number Porygon. Look at Porygon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a cool one. That'll be the episode art. Just
Porygon.
Porygon. One of the best Pokemon designs ever.
Yes,
Porygon.
sir. Especially the evolutionary thing. But yeah, you heck yeah, I like the idea of Porygon as a title.
Yeah, all right. Well, here's Metal, and thank you, Duroje, of course, and thank you everyone
My pleasure, man.
Everyone who listens now, everyone who listened from the beginning, back when I started a radio show 7 years ago. I like doing this, so I'm glad that I'm still doing it.
Me too, man.